Jason, you're a managing partner of Schneider and Williamson. Tell us about your law firm specifically, what you guys do and how you help the community.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Stephen Harper, for having me on. And I am Jason Schneider. I'm the managing partner and founder of Schneider Williamson, and we are a personal injury firm. So we represent individuals who have been injured in accidents, and we file their claims with the insurance companies, hopefully resolve the claims that way, but ultimately a lot of cases end up going to litigation, so we are also a litigation firm, and we specialize in that. And I've been doing this for over 40 years now, helping folks that have been in accidents. And as I was driving up here, my office is in Sandy Springs, and I was driving up here up 85, and I saw all those billboards. I thought a real interesting topic, if you want to get into it, is how does a small firm compete with the behemoths? And that's something that really applies across a whole bunch of industries.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because I was going to say you've been in business for 40 years, and you're not and we won't grace them with any of their taglines or anything like that. In the old days, they were on the back cover of the Yellow Pages, and now they're in huge billboards and all these commercials. So what sets you guys apart? What makes you guys different? How do you find your clients?
Right. So, yeah, and I don't want to disparage any of those firms. No. Obviously, they do great work. Mm-hmm. And I guess what I'll analogize it to is some people like going to the Home Depot and some people like going to the corner hardware store. Mm-hmm. And Atlanta, I think I've heard the figure, gets 1,000 accidents a day, so there's room for everyone. And I cannot compete with the big advertisers, and so I don't try to. So I look for the person that is more interested in perhaps more individualized care, perhaps speaking to an attorney, not a call center, and just finding the niche of doing high quality work for people. Not to say that the big firms don't, but it's just a very different experience.
Two different ways to get it a good result, and I would say there's a little more close-knit relationship. So let's just ask this: your total team. How many attorneys do you guys have in your office, and just kind of talk about the team that you've assembled?
Yeah, so there's 3 lawyers in the firm, including myself, and we have a staff of 5, so I have 3 paralegals. And it's really interesting you ask that question because even if you get into a big firm, ultimately, who's going to be your lawyer, right? It always comes down to a team of lawyers and a team of paralegals. So really, when you come right down to it, no matter what the size of an organization it is, you're shaking your head because you've obviously dealt with a lot of organizations over the years. It always comes down to who's my lawyer, who's my paralegal, who's my case manager. So we do the same quality work, or I'd like to think better quality work than larger firms, because just of our experience and our dedication to our clients.
And again, this is not a disparaging comment, but the person we see on the commercials, the person we see on the billboard, you're not meeting with that person, right? You're meeting with your particular attorney that's going to take on your case, and maybe there's more than one in a particular thing. So let's ask this: when it comes to being a personal injury attorney, what are the wrong times that people call a personal injury? Is there a wrong time to call? Is there, because obviously an event happens. Would your advice be, hey, if you've got even one iota of thought of I might need to talk to an attorney about this, go ahead and call and start the process? Would that be the advice? And what other advice would you give around personal injury?
Sure. I'm going to step back a minute and talk about another behemoth in my industry, and that's the insurance companies. And they have done such a good job. They have great commercials. I laugh at them. We all know the Gecko, and we all know Flo, and you're in good hands. And so the insurance companies have done a great job in educating the public, or miseducating the public, that you don't really need a lawyer if you're in an accident, that we will take care of you. So I cannot tell you how many clients have been, oh gosh, I really didn't want to call you, and why? What do they know? They've just been really indoctrinated by this advertising. So the answer to your question is, and it seems so self-serving, but it literally is call right away, because there's no fee, right? We handle cases, and most people know this by now, but I do have to say it because some don't. And the way that personal injury plaintiff attorneys work is that we get paid on a contingency fee basis. So if there's no recovery, there's no fee. So conversations, consultations are always going to be free. So I always recommend that clients, anybody that's been in an accident or has a question, reach out and ask the questions you have, because as everyone always says, there's no such thing as a bad question.
And to your point, talking about the insurance companies, I find it interesting that I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, but especially over the last 10 years, it seems like anytime even I just call about my home or I call about something's happened with my car and it wasn't my fault or whatever, the number one thing an agent will say is, well, let's not make a claim unless we absolutely have to, which I'm like, well, what am I paying for then? So I guess I'm piling on a little bit, but I mean, that is an illustration of your point that you're making.
Well, that's a little different point,
Yeah.
But yes, so common that I have so many clients say, well, I don't want to make a claim. And it's, okay, so why do you have to have some basic minimum coverage, but you don't have to have this extra coverage. And what I say to them is, if you don't want to make a claim, cancel that coverage. Kind of put them on the spot there. I mean, that's why you've bought, for example, uninsured motorist coverage. That's why you've bought medical payments coverage. You want to cover yourself, your passengers, in the event of an accident, and use it. And in the scheme of things, that's another really good propaganda by the insurance company. In the scheme of things, if you have $5,000 in medical bills that you're going to put on your MedPay policy, that's not going to make a bit of difference when you think of how large these companies are. So again, they've done a really good job of discouraging people from making, really good at accepting premiums, a little worse about paying claims.
Yeah, welcome to that industry. That's been going on since they began. How did you begin? 40 years ago, you said. So what was it about law and going to school and I want to do this, to where you develop a passion for it?
Well, that is such a good segue, because I'm going to have to admit that when I graduated from Emory Law School, I went to work for a firm that represented insurance companies.
Okay.
Got to start on the inside.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I was 25, 26, not really giving that a whole lot of thought, just looking to get a job and looking to work, and did the interviewing, was hired by a very prestigious downtown law firm, and it just turned out that their clients were insurance companies. So as it turned out, it was great experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would think now you know what it's like on that side of the plate. You switched over from the dark side, right?
Oh, you've heard that expression. Yes. Depending on your point of view, who's in the light and who's in the dark. But I really did have an epiphany moment when I was about 4 or 5 years into doing the insurance side of it, and just took depositions of this very nice couple whose child had been in a horrible accident. And they were I was on this kind of like being mean and being tough, and they were so kind and gracious. We talked earlier about grace, and they showed me so much grace that I was like, boy, I want to be representing people like this. I don't need to be representing this insurance company, which, look, I don't want to denigrate insurance companies too much. They do great, right? We all need it, and they do pay a lot of good claims, and, sometimes they need a little pushing, but you can get them to do the right thing. So, and there are a lot of good people, as we talked earlier about law firms, insurance companies are made up of people, so you do get to the right people, you do get great results. But I decided then and there that I'd rather be representing the people, the victims. It'd just be more satisfying for me to do that kind of work.
And from a business perspective, breaking off and starting your own. Now you have Carlton Williamson, right? You have a partner, but that's not an easy process to do. Tell us what that was like for you in terms of, hey, I'm not going to be under the umbrella of anyone else. Now I'm going to be the umbrella and provide for, 5 others that you have there along with your partners.
So I love that, Harper, and it's so interesting we didn't talk about what I talk about, but that was a huge step, right, from going from a law firm and a salary to just being on my own. I started out as a sole practitioner. I mean, I joke, I had a sign, I will work for food, because what I ended up doing was finding a law office that had an office for rent, and I literally said to the lawyer, I can't pay you rent, but I'll do work on your cases. So I started out, I went from a nice downtown law firm salary to just scraping a lot around, and started to network lawyers that I knew from law school, lawyers I knew from downtown law firms. This is what I do now. And then, of course, as you get clients and you do good work for clients, then they want to refer you to other people. So I really started from the ground up. So to the listeners out there, like, maybe I'd like to start out on my own, but I do have a mortgage, and I do have expenses. Like, how am I going to go from this salary to starting? There is a path for that, and I'm living proof of that.
Yeah, the risk level and the uncertainty of all of that. But you had to, at one point or another, trust. Look, I'm good at what I do. I love working for people and helping them the family that you mentioned, that there's an emotion to it, but there's also the practicality, the science of it. Hey, I've got to win, right? I've got to be better at law and remind these agencies that there is a stipulation right here and you're not adhering to that, so let's make this right, make people whole. That's your goal, right? You want to make everybody as whole as you physically and obviously legally possibly can.
Yeah, so it's so interesting because Diane talked about motion, and as I look back at it now, it's like, wow, I just with the faith that I took that step that I could just go and do this. It's like, wow, and I think being young, it probably helps. Younger, as you get older, you get a little more set in your ways, and I know it's important to get out of that dynamic. But yeah, looking back at it, it's like I did have that belief in myself. Obviously, I still do, and what I've shown over my career has proven that. But yeah, it takes a little. I don't even know if there were life coaches around back when I did this, but maybe you need some advice or some help, and I obviously could be a resource to any young lawyer thinking about it. But yeah, you believe in yourself, you do the good work, and good things happen.
Well, the legal term would be putting it into practice, wouldn't it? And you're putting into practice what it is that you believe, and it's been paying off, right? That's the neat thing about it. Talk about the growth of the business for you. You mentioned that there's billboards everywhere, and there's got to be a possibility for people to find you in a clearer, more direct way than what it was 5 years ago. So have you relied heavily on not just word of mouth, but websites and information that you put out so that people are aware of what it is? Not that they're in an accident, but if they are in one, they want to call you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, so we obviously have a website, SchneiderWilliamson.com, and I try to get my name out there by doing events like this and reaching people. And then, of course, many lawyers do personal injury but don't necessarily do the litigation part. They try to settle the claim with the insurance company, and if they can't, they're looking for a more experienced firm to do that. So I've kind of built out that little niche of doing what's known as litigation for lawyers that try to settle cases and don't. And there's a fee-sharing arrangement where that's very helpful. It doesn't cost the client anymore to have a more experienced firm. So you have to find a way to compete in a very saturated market. And you have to find people that are looking for help and people that want a different kind of service.
I think there's something you just said there that I think our listeners maybe are a little surprised to hear. So in the realm of personal injury attorneys, there's almost this sense of co-opetition. So one of the niches you found is other personal injury attorneys who are almost exclusively settling cases. If they get a case and go, this might need to go to litigation, there's partnership that can happen. There's agreements that can be reached where they either pass the case on to you or you find a way to work together. Am I getting that right?
Yes, and I want to go just a tad broader,
Yeah.
because there was a time when somebody was a general practice attorney. And what's the saying? Master of none. What is that saying?
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
There you go. Thank you. So
Point to Harper. All right.
he knew that so well. Because
I'll mark that down.
Maybe
Okay.
you've heard that. I don't know.
I've been told I am that on numerous occasions.
Why do you think we're podcast hosts?
Right. So let's broaden it a little. Then I'll come back to the personal injury attorneys. There's somebody that does well. At this point in the legal field, everyone's a specialist. So there's people that just write wills. There's people that do divorce law. There's people who do corporate work. So I try to market to anybody who's a lawyer, and maybe their client's son has been in a wreck, right? So there's a huge market not only for the personal injury firms to hire us, but for any lawyer. Because recommending somebody is such a reflection on you, right? It's so important. Like I struggle sometimes when a client asks me, "Well, who does this or who does that?" Now I know who does podcasts, but
We're going to get referrals, Harper. All right.
so it's important for a lawyer. I'm joking, but it's certainly you get it. It's certainly important because it's going to be ultimately a reflection on you. Apart from the money side of it, right? You just want to make sure your client's taken care of, or your client's relative or son. So there's that market. Any lawyer listening that has the unfortunate situation of a client being in a wreck could use the right help. And then, of course, the insurance companies, when cases go to court, they throw just like the movies. You've seen the John Voights come in with the briefcases and 5 lawyers behind them. It's intimidating, and a smaller law firm can really just need the help. to win that case, because they will throw stuff at you and you got to fight back.
Have you ever walked into court with the Joe Pesci Southern outfit with the bow tie and all that, and Fred Willard is, or not Fred Willard,
Frank Quinn.
Yeah, he's going, "Are you mocking me?"
You are now talking about one of my all-time favorite movies,
The cleaner or the suit plate, it has the flu. The whole store has the flu.
Judge, I wore this for you. That is just, and it's such a great movie because there's so much real truth in it, like how you cross-examine a witness, how you destroy a witness. He did the one with the lady that couldn't see in the back, so her vision.
Yeah, darling, I'm holding up too, right? What a great that great line, but effective in the movie, right? And it is effective in court as well.
It's good to hear a lawyer say, "This is a good."
Oh, it's
movie."
the number one movie for lawyers to have a laugh, but also to learn. You know what? He was pretty smart there at the end of the movie. He won the case because of, and fill in the blank.
Unlike the original Perry Mason TV show that lawyers go, it's never like that. They never just, admit on the stand.
And,
So-
it's funny you thought of that because, I'm no Joe Pesci, but sort of that scrappy, I think you got the sense of what I was describing is just scrappy. How about him? He's like, I'm just starting out. I could take on this murder case, for my nephew. And look how it turned out because he was that good.
You mean you could see what happened at the Stop and Shop, whatever, through all these brown things. What are they called? Leaves. Through all these, oh my gosh, there's some great lines in that movie. However, if I'm in an accident, and whether it be a fender bender that is only a couple of dollars worth of damage that you and I both know that we can fix without a claim, or if it's something where there's a serious injury, where it happened, where we live, the nearest jurisdiction, there's a lot of questions that people might have that you can help to answer to at least get you started in protecting yourself if something does happen. Is that correct?
That is. And when we talked earlier about whether you reach out right away or you wait, it really is important, even if you think you're okay, to get checked out, because if you do what a lot of people do when they're hurt, it's like, I'll take some Advil, I'll see if it gets better, and a week goes by, and then you say, you know what, I don't feel right, so let me call my doctor, and it's another week for the appointment. So then you're 2 weeks into your post-accident date, and you finally go see someone. You know what the insurance company's going to say to that? You couldn't have been hurt, or you would have gotten immediate medical attention. Of course, if you do the opposite, if you're in a little fender bender and you go to the ER, they go, oh, why didn't you wait? So they will have an answer for anything, but it's much better to get checked out, start your case. Obviously, if somebody's seriously injured, they're going to know they need legal representation. Well, maybe not even in that situation. They might think the insurance company is going to treat them fairly, as we talked about it a minute ago. So back to my...
Yeah, how often do you get treated fairly?
Rarely.
Rarely you get treated fairly.
Rarely in
there's
life.
a song in there somewhere, right?
Rarely in life. So certainly in a business context where remember, insurance companies are in business to make money, right? Not to be your neighbor, good neighbor, not to be your friend. I mean, look, they are
You mean I'm not in good hands? Possibly?
He's not saying that. He's just
know,
saying
I'm not.
those hands
It
are
depends.
not your friend's
It
hands.
depends.
It depends.
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah.
So I think everybody listening who either owns a business, is involved in a business, has family, has a car, I think they need to take down your information, and I think they just need to have it on hand so that if they ever need a good personal injury attorney, and probably they could also use you if they just need a good estate attorney, or because you've met them and you've probably got some good referral sources for people. How do people get in touch with Schneider Williamson?
Right. Thanks for asking. And yes, I'd like to be a resource because, as we said, I'm a little smaller. I am a resource to people. You can call me for advice on just about anything. And if I can't help you, I will direct you to somebody who I trust who can. So, yes, my name is Jason Schneider. The name of the firm is Schneider Williamson. Our website is SchneiderWilliamson.com. We're located in Sandy Springs. And, yeah, please, look at my website, flag it, bookmark it.
Phone number? What do you have, a business line?
Business line is 770-394-0047. If you want to reach out to me directly, it's Jason at SchneiderWilliamson.com.
And I'm going to spell it just for those people who are too not bold enough to go, I want to make sure I spell Schneider right. So it is SCHNEIDER. And you know what? I'll spell Williamson too. WILLIAMSON. SchneiderWilliamson.com.
What was the show with Schneider? The Bonnie Franklin was the head.
One day at a time.
Was that one day at a time?
It was one day
Schneider.
at a time.
And we were talking earlier about the Dodgers. Dukes, it's not Snyder. It's not SNYDER.
No.
No, it's SNIDER.
No, it's SCHNEIDER.
Yours is.
Yours is.
Yeah.
Duke Snyder is SNIDER. Yeah.
Don't
sorry.
don't go there.
Oh,
with him.
we've gone-
He knows
yeah.
his stuff.
Yeah,
Baseball.
sorry.
Don't go down that alley unless you want to be corrected.
Willie and the Duke.
All right.
Jason Schneider, thank you so much for being here. Had a good time. Had a great time talking to an attorney.
What do you know?
That's a good thing.
And I can't believe we're out of time already because there was so much more I'd like to
Well,
say.
then what we need to do is bring you back on another show.
I'd love to.